Florence again, lads. Good old Florence. You need to put those mics up, flying pig. Rushing.
Are we all ready or what?
Well,
That's
rushing
what
around like
I couldn't
idiots.
get a park, you know. It's
Me
like
as well.
rest day, innit? So there's nowhere to park.
I was in 5:20, Big Duncan.
I
I've
was
flown
down
around.
here,
I've passed Cowboys. I've passed. Flying Pig hasn't passed, but apparently he's been following a lady around all afternoon because
Is that right?
yeah, because all she was wearing in fancy dress was nothing.
Yeah.
Body painted.
Really?
Body painted Flying Pig.
Well,
Watching it all
Look
day.
at that little smirk as you said that.
That's-
filth you are.
No, that's not true because I got told that. I didn't really see her.
Oh, you did.
Unfortunately.
Is that right?
Unfortunately, absolutely.
Wish I
But, great day in Benidorm. Unfortunately, lads, the weather.
It's a bit pants, isn't it?
Where I was saying to the Flying Pig, him and I had a little meeting prior to this because we do research and things, you know. And
He doesn't mean that. He meant we went for a pint.
Went for a pint, I was gonna say, yeah.
and I was saying to Flying Pig, it just didn't seem the same as what it was last year because last year the sun was shining, the atmosphere was there, and I mean, as the weather suggests, lads, it's put a bit of a damper on it today.
Yeah, but I think people still make it, have a good time.
Yeah,
but it's not the same though, is it?
They're still there. Lots to talk about this day on Friday, Thursday, Offside SHOW. What's Big Dunk doing? What's Big
Well,
Dunk
I
doing?
explain with you.
Oh, you get on the camera.
I'm just making sure it's working.
Okay. Lots and lots to talk about today. The big thing to talk about today. We can't not talk about it today. I'm sorry, lads, it's boring, but it has to be talked about, and that's this Brexit lock.
Yeah, go on, you go with it.
It's complete farce, isn't it?
Right, now, listen, I'm going to give you a little history lesson. Okay, there's a note here from the producer of Radio 1, and he says, Big Dump, make sure you don't talk over Scotty. And then there's another note from Ash,
Hang on.
and Ash is saying to Flying Pig, make sure that Big Dump doesn't talk over Scotty. Because listen,
What are you trying to say? I've got a big cough.
no, you took the mic last week, Big Dunk, and you went for it, boy. You had your notes, you got there. We couldn't get a word in edgeway, Flying Pig.
No, you're right there, actually. You know, do you know what it is? It's sitting in that seat there.
It's like a power trip sat in that
It is.
thing, isn't it?
There must be something generating underneath it that goes through your body and makes you talk and not stop.
He's got like the big posh microphone, hasn't he? He's got the better chair. Me and you like a couple of peasants on the end here. So that means sharing a microphone. Sometimes I feel like I'm kissing you.
That wouldn't
God
be a bad
forbid
thing.
that.
Wouldn't be a bad thing. Hey, talking to Benidorm fiestas and things today, there's rather some strange costumes that the lads were wearing out today. A lot of lads in women's clothing. I mean, I don't know about you lads. I mean, there's none of you from London, obviously, but in the northeast, we just don't do that sort
Hey,
of
can I
thing.
just say one thing,
What?
Scotty? You're right there, but you know, just as I finished left Union Jack 2 today, the rabbi at the
He was dressed up as
the
a
Spurs
chick, wasn't he?
rabbi, he got changed into his Union Jack gear as a woman.
Did he?
Oh,
As a
no.
woman.
Something going on there, isn't there?
Well, at least he's admitted he does like
He's a
dressing
Chinese.
up. Yeah,
He
he
did
does
admit-
like dressing up
He
in
did
women's
admit on
clothes.
the extra time show the other week that he likes wearing women's knickers.
It wasn't a
and
Mickey
everything.
take. It wasn't a Mickey
No,
take.
I started laughing and I was
Yeah.
looking at his face, but he was looking back at me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I know a very
I
good.
thought he looked quite attractive when I left him earlier
Yeah.
on.
I know a very, very good friend of his, and quite a few years ago now, that the rabbi sat down with all his old Tottenham pals and that came to a reunion, and he said, I have something to confess. I don't want to keep it from you any longer. And I thought, oh, what's happened? And I thought, what? Has he got the big C? What, you know? He says, I like dressing up in women's clothes. He says, from now on, just for the night though, he
He means
says,
it, doesn't
call me
Wait,
Sandra.
wait, yeah.
Yeah,
Call me
absolutely.
what?
Call him Sandra. Where the Lee comes into
Oh,
Sandra, I
man.
don't know. But anyway, let's get a little bit more serious stuff in here today. Listen, lads, I mean, I don't know if you agree, I don't know if it interests you. It doesn't really interest me. It's getting to the point of boring now, nearly two years on. But when I woke up this morning and saw that half the cabinet had resigned, I thought, no, this is loco. This really is loco.
I saw it coming last night because last time when it was announced that Checkers, she said, didn't she, we're all in agreement, and then the next day they all started jumping ship. And so when it came out again last night, oh, we're all in agreement. I thought, nah, let's see what happens tomorrow, meaning today. And it's all kicked off, hasn't it?
Yep.
It's I'll ask Flying Pig a question. Flying Pig, do you feel sorry for the bird?
No.
Why not?
Well, I think basically it's, I mean...
She's trying her best,
she's trying
let's
her
be
best,
honest,
and
lads.
she is. But it's like someone said this morning on the news that I was watching, that she needs to step down or they'll get rid of her, and they need somebody that really, you know, is a Brexiteer, that wants to leave. She was a Remainer, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was a Remainer, and it's hard for a Remainer to try and, you know, resolve the situation. I think it's hard to resolve, but it would be better with a Brexiteer, you know, somebody that wants to leave.
They're all bailing on her out there, and I guess I get what he's saying, because we discussed this a few weeks back, didn't we, on the same show, saying, do we feel a little bit sorry for her, because I don't think many people are going to feel sorry for her, and I don't think many people are going to feel sorry for anything to do with Conservatives, to be honest. But I've got to be honest, she must feel like throwing towel in. Do you know what I mean?
She has to.
I mean,
it's coming to that point. She's trying her best, Dunk.
Yeah.
She really is. She was a Remainer. She didn't want to negotiate this deal. Listen, I've got more admiration for that woman than I think any Tory leader I've seen in my lifetime.
You know, I like that.
So you've got admiration for her, and he wants to give her one.
Give her what?
Give
You
her
can't
two.
say things
Praise.
like that. What?
Give
her praise. Give her one.
No, he wants to give her one.
No, he
In
wants
a sexual
to.
nature. He fancies a big dunk.
Oh.
He's got an
Hey,
unhealthy thing for Theresa
Can I just
May.
say
I've
one
run out
thing?
of aspirin.
Can I just say one thing?
Go on.
Can I just have a look at the papers you've got here?
Whoa, hang on a minute. What have you spotted on my notes?
What's he got?
Look at all these notes of dunks, lads.
Yeah.
Lasses. He's got a picture of
he's got a
Theresa
picture of
May.
Theresa
He's
May.
got a picture. And why he's got that, what he's doing with
Hang
that,
on
I
a
do
minute.
not
Hang
know.
on a minute. Hang on a minute. It's not from the bank, is it? No. I printed it out and it just happened to be included.
Yeah,
with it.
right.
Look.
Okay.
She's alright, this test.
That's her looking at her most radiant with those little sexy bags under her eyes. Look, my God! I talk about the rabbi dressing up women clothing. If you fancy that woman, there's something.
I have
perverted
never
about
said
you.
I fancy that woman at all. I just said there's something about her. She's alright. Do you know what I mean?
Well, listen.
Authority, innit?
I've just said, now you know where my politics lie, lads, it's slightly to the left of Trotsky, you know.
In Russia.
But you know, as a Conservative leader, I'm watching her. I didn't like her when she first came to power, and I'm thinking you're on a hiding to nothing. I feel sorry for her. I think she's doing a sterling job
No
in
one's
there,
gonna feel
and there's
innocent.
no way is she going to get. Is anybody? I don't care if you brought Churchill back, he wouldn't get a decent.
Well, you don't like
Brexit
him
deal.
anyway.
No, I didn't. No,
You were
didn't
putting
like
him down over a week, telling us how
like
much
him.
of a, what was it, a villain and a...
Racist pig.
Yeah, that was
Racist
it.
pig.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to give you a little history lesson.
Oh,
Okay?
God,
I'm going to give you a little history lesson
Do you know, I
on,
wish I was still looking for a parking space.
on the EU.
I wish you still
Now,
having
this is quite... Never mind that, David Cameron. David Cameron, okay, took a bit of a gamble a few years ago, okay? He went to the EU and he said, if I get into power, I'm going to give the British people the vote to come out of the EU or not. Now, the EU were pooping their pants because Britain is one of the biggest, I think they're the biggest contributors to the EU budget because of the wealth of the country. Now, Cameron said, obviously he said that, and he actually got 2 or 3 points agreed by the EU because the EU were frightened, and he got 2 or 3 points. One of them was to control their own borders and put certain segregations on migration and that sort of thing in.
Yeah.
And if we'd voted to remain in the EU, then Cameron would have got these 3 concessions, which were wonderful. They would be paying less money in, they would control their own borders, migration, etc. And what happened? He couldn't believe it.
Well, he never expected it, did he?
He never expected
He
it.
really honestly
The
thought
gamble
yeah.
backfired. And what did he do? The next day, he's off ski.
He's gone.
He's
Well,
gone.
he's not daft, is he?
You know, he's
not
gone.
daft, is he?
Poor Theresa May is thrown into the mix. Now, let me
Hang on a
give
minute.
you...
Listen, stop. You've got to stop saying poor Theresa May, because I don't think many people will agree with you on that one.
Yeah, but you've
people-
obviously got up there as like a dominatrix, and you don't want that to be poor you want it to be Miss Bitcho,
Is that
Theresa
right?
May with a whip. That's what you want. So you don't want to see her weak.
Have you
You
been
want to see her
reading-
as a dominatrix.
Have you been reading my private conversations on my phone? That's the last time I leave that in here.
But let me give you the lesson of the history lesson that I was going to give you on the EU. What's that you say, Mr. Producer? Big, don't stop coming in over the top of Scotty. Okay.
Well, you've been
Anyway.
reading it for about half an
Now,
hour.
listen, the history lesson. After the First World War, Second World War, about 10 years after the Second World War, 4 or 5 countries got together that were frightened of the power that the US had, the economic power that the US had. So it was Germany, France, Belgium, and Luxembourg and a couple of other countries got together, and they thought, right, they thought it was a great idea if they band together from an economic point of view, okay, and their theory was that they'll give each other concessions on trade and tax and cross-border agreements and let people go in and out of the country. And their theory was, and it's a brilliant theory, that if they get together, they will become stronger and the likelihood of another war would dissipate a little bit. And bearing in mind, this came on the back of 2 world wars where over 54 million people were killed, okay? Great idea. What happened then? Other countries wanted to join in the call. 11, 12 countries. Great Britain, United Kingdom, they wanted to join under the rule of Charles de Gaulle. Twice they applied to join the EU, and then Charles de Gaulle, because he didn't like the United Kingdom, vetoed that and wouldn't let them in. And it was only up until the 70s, I think it was 73 or 74, Edward Heath, I was probably right the first time, he didn't give a vote, he just says, we're in, we've been agreed, let's get in quickly, lads. Now, all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, over that 20-year period, the actual theory worked. There was no world wars. The economy of all the countries that were in the EU started to grow and grow, to the extent now that 6 of the top 10 economic powerhouses in the world are in Europe. It works. It works 100%. And unfortunately, now people, I want to change. You know, you're paying a lot of money to that, this, that. The actual idea behind the economic union, we haven't had a major European war apart from the Yugoslav war for 70 years now, okay? The economy of most of those European Union countries are the top in anywhere in the world, and even the ones that aren't doing particularly well, the richer ones help them out a little bit. It's almost a perfect socialist system, the EU. Now we have nationalism and people starting to think, we can do better on our own.
I'm not sure it's just that, you know.
It's absolutely that.
I think your average Joe back in England, all they're bothered about is if they can get into doctors and stuff like that, and when they can't get in for 2 or 3 weeks, to blame everyone from Poland and everywhere else.
Yeah, well, that's
They say
nationalism.
everyone's come here, we haven't got the resources, you know, to cope with it. And I think that's the number one reason in the United Kingdom, you know, back home, as to why they voted for Brexit. Your average Joe.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think it's because people are racist. I think there'll be some of that.
But the people that voted, most of the people that voted, you're right, Doug, they voted because of the immigration situation.
Yeah.
Because the country was being flooded with people, as I said, not racist, but there was people coming from everywhere, all over the world, you know, just entering and you know, taking everything out of the
system.
system.
But a lot of people also don't realise that a lot of that immigration will still continue because they're not just coming from Europe, are they?
No, it's not made a blind bit of difference. Even if they leave, it won't make any difference.
Right.
But everybody, that's what a lot of people voted on to leave, because they thought it would stop immigration.
It's the only complaint I've ever heard from anyone back home that's voted
I
for it.
100% agree with you.
Because most people don't bother about the economy and
they haven't a
stuff
clue
like
about
that.
it, though, Duncan.
Exactly.
It's not that they bother about it, they haven't a clue about it.
Well,
It's
doesn't
too
affect them.
complicated.
Your average Joe, it doesn't affect them. What does it?
But it will affect them.
You know, I know.
I'll tell you who
It will
affect
you,
them eventually.
you brought up the medical issues there, Big Dunk. Valid point. I was reading today that 95% of the insulin that Great Britain, that the United Kingdom use, comes from Europe under a subsidy. Now, if we get the no deal, that horrible situation
looks
of
like it's
uncertainty,
going to.
which is 100%, it doesn't look like it's 100%. Overnight, now Great Britain, United Kingdom can say, all right, there's no problems, yes, we'll still accept insulin into the country. Now, the EU can say, no problem whatsoever, but don't think you're getting it away, 21% less tax. The European Union countries, no, you're the rest of the world now, United Kingdom. Your insulin, if we decide to ship it to the United Kingdom, is going up by 21%. It's a frightening thing that we're faced with, the great uncertainty. No one knows what's going to happen with the EU. Will the markets crash? It's the uncertainty of everything. And it is, you're right, lads, it's a 100% statistic, it's a no deal.
I mean, we don't know. The politicians that are negotiating don't know. And nobody knows what's going to happen, as you said. And people don't realise how many businesses in the UK it's going to affect. Irrespective of whether there's no deal or there is a deal, it's going to affect it whatever if they leave, if or when they leave. But a no deal is going to be absolutely disastrous for the country.
I'm selfish. All I want to know is when I fly into Alicante, am I coming through the airport as quickly as I normally would, or am I going to have a lane for a...
Well, that is another thing. Immediately there's a no deal, a hard border is imposed on the United Kingdom. It's going to be a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. You're going to be looking at visas, work permits. It's a nightmare, a no deal, an absolute nightmare.
I've been told on good authority that if you come in here, if there's a no deal, or irrespective of what sort of deal, that you're not necessarily, you'll have to have a visa, but you will have to come in, whereas everybody can come through passport control, you'll have to come through a different section.
Do you reckon?
And they will be pulling people out and asking,
but they'll
be asking, why are you coming into the country?
Yeah.
How long are you here for? What's your business, etc., etc.
But if you've got official residency here, sure.
No, if you've official residence like us, you're all right. I'm on about people,
holidaymakers,
and how long they're going to stay.
They need that though.
But also people that are coming over, you won't be able to. You'll have to have a special permit to drive over here as well.
You'll not have an EU driving license.
You've got to apply for a special permit to drive over here.
It's the glorious uncertainty. It's the unknown.
All little things like that. And if you're over here and you're driving without a permit or anything, they will fine you and they'll take your cars off you, etc., etc. It's really going to be difficult for people.
If that happens, though, there's a lot of speculation in there, and I don't think anyone knows what's happening, honestly.
You're right, it's the great uncertainty.
Yeah.
It's the uncertainty of a no deal. A no deal means the EU can do anything they like to make it awkward for Great Britain.
And they will.
And they will. There's no doubt about it.
And the individual countries, like we're talking about Spain there, we obviously know that Spain relies heavily on British tourism, this region in particular. But Spain can't set its own rules, can it? It has to follow what the whole EU says. So there can't be any, they can't say, if other European countries say, well, we're going to have these special passport control areas, for non-EU places, Spain can't say, well, no, we want one for people coming from Britain because we want to get them in quicker. They've got to adopt to the rules from the main European...
Well, again, I read up today that if it's a no deal and literally we've left the EU, because the other thing is, if we get a deal on March the 19th next year, if we do get a deal, then there is a very long transitional period. If we don't get the deal, i.e. no deal, then at the end of the day, it's an uncertainty. And it's overnight, we're not in Europe. There's no transition period, there's nothing. And certain countries can do anything they like to the UK. We're going to have to take a little bit of...
What's this tune here? Looks sexy and I know it. It's my theme tune there.
No, that's for the Flying Pig.
Are we getting to there?
Yeah, we're going to take a few little bit, and we're going to take a couple of ads. Well, 3 ads to be quite honest, and then we're going to pay a little bit of, is it Right Said Fred?
Right
Said, no, LMFA.
What about Right Said Fred?
No,
he sat next to him.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sexy, and I know it. That was Right Said Fred, wasn't it?
That's not the ball.
Just get on with it. Just get on with it. Better last week when I was doing this.
Are you turning that off?
No.
live. How do I turn you off then?
Well, your camera.